puppy. No, you can't.
Surrender the dog.
No, not Toto.
Surrender the puppy. Dismiss. I will have the dog.
And hello, fellow WHOvians. Once again, welcome to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil. Today, we've got a special episode, as they all are special, to tell you the truth out there. We and my team of compadres will be reviewing the third episode of the first series of Doctor Who, which was the return of the series in 2005, starring Christopher Eccleston. Believe it or not, this show premiered April 9th, so not too far away from when the day that it broadcast. It was written by Mark Gatiss and directed by Euros Lyn. This is the Unquiet Dead, the third episode in the Christopher Eccleston series. Welcome to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil. In just a few moments, we'll be introducing you to the panel that will be helping me take care of what we're going to be doing here. But first of all, let me take care of getting rid of that banner that's just sitting up there. Boom. There we go. And thank you for joining us. If you are on the YouTube channel, if not, or if you got a YouTube page, please, right now, if we've earned it and we are asking humbly, please subscribe now to our YouTube channel. Help us clear that 3,000 hurdle. YouTube.com/The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. For those of you listening to us on audio, again, thank you for joining us. In just a few moments, we'll be going over the panelists really well. But again, we are going to be reviewing The Unquiet Dead. The reason why a lot of people have been asking us, hey, you haven't actually reviewed any of the classic, what we call the ClassicNu WHO, because we started the day that Jodie Whittaker premiered. In fact, the first episode that we had was only 30 minutes long. It started the day before, I should say, that Jodie Whittaker premiered. And that was actually our predictions for what the first episode was going to be from The Woman Who Fell to Earth. Now, here we are, and we're going back as we move forward to the 60th anniversary and the arrival of Ncuti Gatwa as whatever, 15th Doctor at this moment out there. But speaking of which, let's go ahead and bring up the panel just to show you who's going to be helping us review tonight. First of all, Kevo, really? Welcome back, Kevo.
Hello, everyone.
From Husbands Talking More or Less podcast. Believe it or not,
Kevin, show.
I've been doing something and I haven't even been announcing it. I've been putting your the link to your podcast because you created all these wonderful thumbnails for each episode out here. So if you're looking for a guru to make those thumbnails that you see on here, they look so professionally done and so nice. Kevo is the person to talk to. And plus, if you want, please check his podcast out, Husbands Talking More or Less. How you doing there, Kevo?
Good. Doing really good. Don't also forget X's for Show, which is our YouTube channel that we have. We're doing a lot of really great fun stuff over there. It's been really exciting making the transition to video. This is tough. You warned me, but I was not prepared. We're doing really well. We covered the Drag Race finale last weekend, and we covered an update on the MCU. This upcoming weekend, we're going to be covering the finales of both Mandalorian and Picard. And then on Saturday, we are going to be covering something a little bit odder, the Power Rangers anniversary special airs this week, and that's really exciting. And we also discovered this really strange sitcom called Jury Duty. It is entirely scripted except for one man.
Uh-huh.
Its entire trial is all real. So we are fascinated by this, and so we'll be covering those things this weekend. And so yeah, we got a lot going on. We got a lot going on. Merry Christmas, by the way, obviously, because it's Christmas in April, apparently.
That's true because of this episode. It's relation to Charles Dickens, and we'll probably explain a little bit that Charles kind of go through the WHOniverse just a wee bit out there. And speaking of which, having a good time. It's your boy, Tasty Cakes. Unmute your microphone, sir. How you doing there, my friend? Mr. Tom Kosak.
Tasty Cake.
There you go. Reverend Amagon is back, and he's going to be helping us review The Unquiet Dead. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, cleaning, shopping, organizing. One thing came up on the internet today, which kind of baffles my mind.
What's that?
It deals with Disney. The guy said, well, we know that Pluto is a dog, but what about Goofy? He said Goofy is a cow. So what I have to say is, segue that one, Christian.
I have no idea. No, I can't.
No, he dates a cow. He dates a cow.
He dates a cow?
Yeah, Clarabelle cow.
Yeah, it's crossbreeding.
I can't segue that. So, speaking of water, there we go. There we go. To the Candyman himself. After you get,
I love my candy.
This is Mr. Mark Robinson over in the UK live. How you doing, Mr. Candyman?
I'm good. I'm good. I was great seeing Melanie a couple of weeks ago in London. She's probably hating me now with the amount of candy I gave her. It's a small box. But it's all good. Hi, Andrew. How you doing? Yeah, I'm just doing great at the moment. Just getting back with things and just can't wait to get into these reviews.
There you go. And thank you so much for joining us tonight out there. Plus, I thought that I overheard that you have a traveling TARDIS now.
I do not have a traveling TARDIS.
No?
No.
Wait a minute. I thought you got yourself a TARDIS. Isn't that what the picture showed? Or
What picture is that?
No, the pictures showed a TARDIS with Melanie and with Mark together.
Uh-huh.
It did not. Nowhere have I seen anything that says Mark got a TARDIS.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I gotcha.
I know nothing. It's a secret.
Okay. So is Melanie going to tell us sometime? Or is this something save for later?
I can't spell the beans. It's all up to Melanie.
Okay. Well, since Melanie's not here, we'll wait for her return. I know she's taking a break from MegaCon and going to the Star Wars celebration over there in the UK. I know she's a little tuckered out. So, by the way,
especially the days spending with me as well. That's a bit of a nightmare, isn't it, Dave?
Hello, Timescales. Greetings from San Francisco. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe out there. Speaking, I have a stationary TARDIS. Okay, your house out there. Mr. Dave Chapman, you heard his voice. How you doing there from the Rattle.ca? Hey,
Happy holidays!
Yeah.
It's not candy,
right,
Dave.
Yeah, I know. I know Mark Barber was going to.
I mean, we got Candyman, we got ghosts, or are they
It
ghosts?
kind of works for Halloween too.
It's Halloween.
Yeah.
It's half
Happy
Halloween.
holidays.
Halloween.
Those are the best.
And if you don't want
Christmas
that, then
stories.
fine. I'll pull out the Christmasness. You can pull out the Christmas if you really want.
I wasn't complaining.
There was just ho 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 and all that.
Always have both.
Exactly.
Where's your bunny ears?
They're the same thing.
Where's your bunny ears, Dave?
Those I don't have handy. Although there's no bunnies in this one, so I can get away with not having them.
I would think right now that it should be the 3 holidays should be a run-on sentence, or the 4 holidays. It should be Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. They just run on together as if those are like one big sentence. So it's not one day. It's kind of like they just bleed into each other. So
A whole season.
Exactly. Sometime in September it starts it up, and then you just keep going. And then after New Year's, it's like, well, there's nothing here. Everything's downhill from here because you don't get days off. You don't. It's like January 2nd. Like there's nothing for quite some time in between until like was it Labor Day or something. So
Change approved.
Holiday season.
I like it. Andrew, you're right. TARDIS stocking
Andrew.
for the win.
TARDIS stocking for the win. That other voice that you heard who approved the pumpkin for the holidays is Mark Muncy of Eerie Travels. He's putting out new content. Now he's back up and running on his YouTube channel, so check him out. And also, I forgot, check out the Reverend Amagon on the Revs, Rants, and Reviews. Is it Rev, Rant, and Reviews? Did I get that right?
What?
Revs, Rants, and Reviews.
No, Revs, Raves, and Rants.
Raves and Rants. Raves and Rants. Make sure that you check the Reverend Amagon on his YouTube channel. How you doing there, Mark?
Hey, doing well. So, I decided to Victorian up a little bit. And because, hey, that's, this episode is all about that. And I agree. It's halfway to Halloween. It's also, it's Christmas in April.
That's true.
They were trying to bring back the Christmas episodes. And, I'm good with that. But, I'm getting ready for the Great Florida Bigfoot Conference this Saturday in Ocala. So I know you're all going to be there. So, hope to see all there.
I have a question for you. Is there a legitimate difference between skunking and Bigfoot?
No, it's Florida can't have nice things, so we rename everything. So when it comes down here, we give it stupid names. There's this great sea monster that lives in Georgia. It's called Alahatmaha, or the beast of Alahatma, or the St. John's River monster. When it crosses the Florida border, we call it Pinky because he's the color of boiled shrimp. So Sasquatch, Yeti, all that fun stuff. He comes to Florida, he's a skunk ape. So, that's what we do. So, Louisiana, it's a little better. He's the swamp ape, but still,
Kind of. What was that comment from Necrobat? From Nico?
Who knows?
It was just earlier. That she was that works. I start Halloween shopping early and use ornaments on my Christmas
Yes,
tree.
Agreed.
I know one of a couple people who actually get like the CVS candy when they go out on the 75%, and I'm not talking about like Valentine's and all those holiday ones, and then shack it up for Halloween. I'm just like,
the secret is to go to Ollie's, which is like a warehouse clearance place, and you can get Easter candy, in October, and then in October you get, for now you get the Christmas candy. So, it's. I think that's what they were thinking when they aired this episode. They were like, Ollie's is going to have their Christmas candy. Maybe Dollar General too. So, let's set it up.
I don't think they were thinking.
Well, technically, I got to give credit to Kevo because he mentioned that if we think about this, this is technically Eccleston's Christmas special.
Yep.
Yeah.
Technically, it's his Christmas special.
Davies wanted to bring back the Christmas specials, and he worked with Mark Gaddis to do it. So
I miss them. I hope. I really. Even as quirky as some of them weren't, and some of them weren't the best, I miss them. I mean, they were Christmas tradition, whether you like it or not. They were something that we were looking forward to, and then when we didn't have them, we missed them.
But our rumor is they might be coming back this year.
It's confirmed.
They are.
I don't know about this year. Do we know about this year for sure?
Yeah, as far as I know, unless somebody wants to verify this, the 3 episodes, the 60th anniversary, they're going to play them together. Is that right? I'm just okay. Well,
I think they're all in November, but we don't know when.
I could have sworn there was 3 episodes, and they're going to play them right behind each other, or something like that. And Shooty is going to premiere at Christmas. That's our Christmas gift.
So we'll have
in the holiday
total.
Season.
In the holiday season.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Okay.
So that's from what I understand, because they already filmed. There, Melanie. Meanwhile, I have more orange chocolates than I know what to do with. Is that your fault, man? Is that your fault?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Maybe. Possible.
Apparently, Melanie, there's supposed to be something I don't know yet. And speaking of which, let's go ahead and get the show started. Thanks for the introductions, everybody. Melted and poured it over a cake, Melanie. There you go. Of course, as how we review, we start off with 1 through 10 TARDISes. 10 TARDISes being awesome, 1 TARDIS being not so awesome. And the lowest score will go first. I think Timescale says, I think we will see Shooty in the Christmas episode. I think RTD leaked that one. I don't even think it'll leak. I think it's confirmed.
Yeah,
I'm like 99.9% confirmed that it is. Yes, I heard it will be shooty at Christmas. So technically, it's our Christmas gift to the WHOvians out there. Thank you, but thank you for coming and bringing all this back, RTD. So without further ado, let's go ahead for 1 through 10, and I'm just going to select you at random. We're going to start with the Candyman. What would you
I actually have
just give
two
me
numbers.
numbers.
I have two numbers. I have 5 and 7. 5 when I first watched it, and 7 when I watched it just now when you asked me to watch it.
Gotcha.
So,
all right, Tom, what would you rate this episode?
9.
9. Getting a high score up there. Mr. Mark Montefiore, Florida, what would you rate?
I gave it an 8.
You gave it an 8. Okay, so we're taking a 1 down. Mr. Kevo Risse, what would you rate this episode?
Like Candyman, I also have 2 numbers, but mine are 6, 7.
6, 7. So 7 being what you watched today, as opposed to what you watched prior to.
Not quite the same system, but yeah, my second one is it gets an extra point because it's Christmas.
Okay. Okay. And without further ado, Mr. Dave Chapman, how would you rate this episode?
6.
6.
No, 6.5. 6.5.
I go last.
They made this so complicated for you.
I
go last.
Everybody's got their little, okay, well, I rated
6.334.
We're making you do math, boss.
Oh, man.
We should do like the Price is Right. Whoever.
I'm not going first. That's what matters.
Price is Right.
Yeah.
That is true. So without further ado, looking at the numbers, Mark, am I going by your first number or second number? That's how I'm doing this.
let go by my first number. I explained why I increased it to 7.
Okay, so Mark the Candyman will be going first when we return. Please continue to stay logged on, tuned in, and we've got a whole lot of episode coming for you. We'll be right back.
We are a touring acoustic duo crashing kitchens around the country. We go from house to house every Friday night and we create music, we create food, a good time, we stream it live and we do it for free. So now we're just really kind of like trying to develop it and build a community group that people believe in, then they'll help us. So we played from our rehearsal room, we played from the bathroom, thankfully that didn't catch on.
I probably played guitar in my room, not for anyone, in front of anyone, nobody heard, for probably about 10 years.
And then one Friday night we played from the kitchen. It's the main place people want to be. It's where the food is, it's where the drink is, it's where the best lighting is. You can go to any party and I guarantee you the kitchen is going to be popping.
Our ultimate goal, I think, would be to crash kitchens every Friday all around the world.
Meet the Doctor.
I'm the Doctor.
But not the one you were expecting.
All right, sexy. It's time to go home.
Doctor Who Velocity, streaming now.
Oh, brilliant! It's hard to believe that in the 56-year history of the greatest sci-fi television show in the English language, there has never been a fan guide to Doctor Who. The official books might give you what they think you need to know, but only a guide written by a true fan will give you what you really want to know. Join WHOvian, the brilliant Mackenzie Flaw, as she takes you on an intensive journey inside the world of the first female Doctor. in the Binge Watcher's Guide to Doctor Who, Season 11. Right, let's get a shift on.
Welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil, the host of the show. I've got Mr. Dave Chapman from the RatHole.ca, all the way from the UK, the Candyman Mark Robinson from down under. Well, not really from Australia, but I've got Kevo Risse from Husbands Talking More or Less. I've got Mr. Mark Muncie from Erie Travels in Erie, Florida. Check him out. And also the Reverend Amagon, better known as Tom Kosak. And you can check him out at Revs, Raves, and Rants. But the low score as of selected belonged to the Candyman himself, Mr. Mark Robinson. As the show starts off over here, if you're just joining us, we are reviewing the Unquiet Dead, the third episode in the Christopher Eccleston series. Without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in the Candyman.
Right. When I first watched it back in 2005, I'm not a big Doctor Who when we do period stuff, like the history. It just like bore me a little bit. And when I first watched it, it was just like, okay, I've seen this before. We know what's going to happen. And it's very, very predictable. Hence why I said it was going to be a 5. However, rewatching this and watching every episode from them, this is one of the episodes where it's got so much plot building behind it, you don't actually realize. Okay. Without spoiling on it, it was basically the beginning of Torchwood, the beginnings of Time Lord Victorious. Yeah. And it was also the beginnings of the relationship between how you see the world through Rose's eyes and how out of depth as a 21st century Londoner is, going back to the 19th century Cardiff, which is quite fascinating, especially when Rose and Gwyneth have that conversation, and she can't, as Gwyneth has got some sort of sight, when she looks into Rose's mind, she's amazed and can't understand where she's from. And that whole dynamic of saying, you're from the future and I don't know where you're from, was quite intriguing. But when the girl came in and basically mentions the time war, and you could see Christopher Eccleston's ears pick up, and you can see the rage and the discolourment of his worst fear of that he caused the time war as such. Or didn't cause time war, but he was the large casualty of time war.
And then if I'm not mistaken, no, you're fine. But I think it's if I'm not mistaken, this is the first mention that it's actually been named the Time War.
Yeah.
Just like we didn't find out until Gallifrey later on in the series. We didn't get until the 3rd episode, and we were told the Time War by the Gelfs. So go ahead, continue. I just want to bring it up.
That's fine. And like I said, after rewatching it today, you can see that everything is building from this one episode.
Ooh.
Without you actually knowing. And that's why I gave it another 2. A couple of bits I didn't like was just some of the special effects. I still remember gaslighting. I'm not sure whether or not you guys do, but we were the gaslighting normally have a mantle and it's more of a different color light from what the gas was supposed to be. They look like LPG gas rather than gaslighting. So I'll do a couple of points on something off like that. So that's my view.
Gotcha. Everybody who's in the chats, wherever, if you're on our Facebook page, YouTube channel, please make sure to go ahead and give your number. And if you have a reason as to why you picked the number, go for it. Tell us what you thought about the episode, The Unquiet Dead. That was Mr. Candyman. That was Mr. Mark Robinson. Next up is Kevo. Kevo, you gave it the 6-7. I guess this is going to be a thing now. Tell us. It's going to be a 2 number. Well, I got to confess, when we were talking about Rose, I said, if I remember remember. I think I gave it like a 6 or 7 as well. But when I first saw Rose itself, I gave it a 10 plus because this was a kid who was starving for Doctor Who from 14 years ago and a TV movie to refresh, and that was it. So I was like, please, don't make it. But then I finally, after time, things have mellowed out. So I think you gave it 2 numbers. Is that the same kind of deal where when you first saw it, you saw something, but then now as it is, what now, 20, almost, is it 20 years? Yeah, it's almost 20 years later.
No, 18.
18 years. Almost,
yeah,
almost 20 years.
We're coming
later.
up on 20.
We
Russell
are
will
coming
be
up
here
on
for the
20.
20th, so
this is a series where we
probably
have
series
20,
15.
This is a series that can have so many anniversaries from every different point and angle. But Kevo, you gave it a 6/7. Talk to us, Kevo. What gave you? Where did it hit you? Where did it not get you?
It's okay. It's one of Gatis's better episodes, in my opinion. I am not a very big Gatis fan generally, especially when he shoves himself in the episode. Not really a big fan. This is a decent one. There's a lot of screaming, which he loves to put in his episodes, but it's not as bad as The Wire and The Idiot's Lantern. It's overall mostly okay, especially for an early episode. It's early, so they're still getting warmed up and everything. The reason I give it a second point and over time is really because, like we talked about, it's Chris Eccleston's only Christmas special, and when you look at it from that perspective, it is not a bad Christmas special. It's better than The Return of Dr. Mysterio for sure. Certainly more Christmassy, and it's really special and cool that we ultimately got this extra one. We surprised have an extra one with Rose too then, and it's got a celebrity, face as well as the celebrity character with Charles Dickens.
Simon, I can't think of his name. It's Simon Callow. I keep on saying the guy from American Idol, the other guy.
Yeah,
Different Simon out there.
Yeah.
I feel like they could play cousins though, which is what's so funny. Not like brothers, but cousins. They have a similar cadence and they could carry themselves in a certain way. But it's generally an okay episode. I am less enthused about the next 2, to be honest, that I know you're going to be talking about eventually. The Aliens of London, the Sladen. So this, at least coming before that, knocks it up a few notches too. But, it's Christmas, so that's exciting.
It is Christmas. Even though it's not officially in a Christmas episode, it is still, we'll give it to Chris for this one.
We'll take it.
We'll take it out there. Gets into the chats. Timescale says the Unquiet Dead is one I clearly remember all these years later. I was excited that Doctor Who was back, and it was still Doctor Who, a glorious time back then. Yeah, but like I said, I was a starving kid for Who, and when you had to wait through that wilderness years with that little break in between, and they could have put. I even jokingly said Doctor Who could have been Mr. Potato Head, and if it had a good character and a good story, I would have followed it to the end. Gwyneth is Gwyneth's ancestor, maybe. No, it's not a maybe. It's actually true.
It is true in the canon.
Yeah. They did establish that in canon. Yes, it was established on screen later on out there. Any more chats out there, Dave?
I've been kind of pulling them up as things have been going along. But yes, we pointed out, yes, it was 18 years later. 18 years later. Yeah. I was doing the math that it was 18 years later earlier because, well, so I something that I can't kind of figured out. So it's 1869, right? Mm-hmm. Madame Vestra gets woken up. Seriously, these books are so good for reference. Yeah. In the early 1880s, so not that much later than that, and what she shows up with in Capaldi's first episode is the late. It's just the 1890s. Doesn't really say when. So we're right about that exact time after the fact that you could do a Madame Vestra episode and bring her back, like in some, sequel. I know she got blown up, but there could be a way to bring her back, and like the time frame reality to, in plot could work.
Yeah, the poor thing got blown up.
Yeah.
Pre Jago and Lightfoot too, sadly.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of fun we could have with the Victorian times around that in that period out there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It depends upon where they cross over, and everybody's going to be sitting there just like the unit timeline. Everybody's going to be going like, okay, this better follow through right or not out there.
They're on the rift, so time doesn't really matter, does it?
Yeah.
What was that?
that was me going. Just all of the books, all of the research, everything is crossing over. I've got reference book after reference book, cross-referencing everything. This is how I review RPGs. I'm like that little wizard gnome with tomes.
If only the FASA book had gotten all those detailed notes. Like those supplements were pretty light, sadly. So
yeah, but still really good.
Oh yeah,
a lot of information. They could have gone way deeper, but for what they are, they're like. I've said this in a few reviews. I would put these source books in somebody's hand if they were doing like, hey, write a fictional biography of a character. You're doing the Doctor. Here you go. Because they go into a surprising amount of detail for how light they can be.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
When the 10th Doctor
42.
lands the TARDIS on the Rift, would that be the same place where their house blew up?
Yes. I think that is canon, but it's like Russell T. Davies talked about it behind the scenes. I think that is the thing from Torchwood.
Torchwood, yeah.
The remember the stone that they used to stand on, that it was the thing that would lower them from Roald Dahl Plaza, the really dramatic entrance, not the back entrance that they use more frequently. That is the spot. Yeah.
So the rift was down in there. In fact, there was a scene from what was it, Boomtown, where the Doctor recharges his TARDIS out there. Jack the Ripper vanished in late 1888, and from what I heard, Man and Vastra thinks he's very tasty. So Dan Holyfield.
The next comment right there.
And Dan Holyfield from The Last Man Standing. Check out on his YouTube channel. It's called The Last Man Standing. What did he say? I was trying to read it. Sorry. Let me bring it up there. Just in case people are listening on the radio. So if Astra had him at midnight snack, it would have been roughly 1889. Gotcha. A very tasty snack. Good grief. All right. So the next item up for bids. Dave, you gave it a 6 without a
I did.
Splash or anything. Tell us, you gave it a 6. Why you gave it a 6? Where did it go? And
part of it is straight up personal preference. I'm not a fan of zombies and ghosts. I like goofy Halloween. I'm not a fan of funeral parlors. So all of that side of things just squigs me out, and I don't enjoy generally things themed in there. That took like 2 points off right there. But I mean, as far as what else there is in there, there's some good stuff. I also can't seem to get into this. I've watched this episode a dozen times in the last week and a bit, and I just can't. It just doesn't hold me. And I think part of that is just because I don't like the background theme of it. But it's it's a hard episode for me to get through. I love Dickens. I absolutely adore the Edwin Drood bit at the end. It's a fun. If you've ever seen the Mystery of Edwin Drood play, it's a little bit like Clue in that it's got a whole bunch of different endings. It's got a whole bunch of different endings, and the audience votes on who are the lovers in this show and who is the murderer in this show, and it changes a little bit. It's really kind of neat. But yeah, no, I appreciate what they did. I think it was a great, a great accidental Christmas episode. I'd love to have Dickens back. There's so much you can do with that character. It does set up a lot of stuff. You've got Bad Wolf thrown in there. That's the start of that side thing. You've got the first mention of the Time War. Like this more than anything sets up a lot of stuff. And no, I'm actually not a big fan of Hammer horror. It's just not my thing. I will accept that.
Ouch.
I will accept that. I am a much bigger fan of like the original Universal versions of the monster stuff. I love those movies. They're a little more campier. They're a little less horror. They're more psychological horror. So yeah, that's just the way it is. Yes, my lovely Fez from Fezorama.
There's such a thing as Fezorama.
There is.
Sure, why not? So
yeah, it's fun. Everyone loves the Fez. Who don't love the Fez?
I know.
I got several of them. There we go.
So just a reminder, we're going into the Unquiet Dead. We're reviewing that. Now, Rose has seen her planet blown up. And then we have that little exchange between the Doctor and Rose where he explains that his planet's blown up and this is because of a great war. And then we kind of get the first establishments in this season about this war that he's talking about from the Gelf. So the Gelf start talking about the Time War. And that's where we get our first impressions about that. As far as the device is concerned, when you first heard that the Time War took place, what was going through your guys' mind? Or was this just something that you thought that was like a Chinese whisper? It was just something out there? Or did you think that there was more to this, like Bad Wolf?
You could see the early, strings were being tied together. This was still New Who. We weren't sure if this was going to be Monster of the Week, if this was going to be, are we going to get 2-parters? Are we going to get, 6 episodes broken down into half-hour stories? And we had obviously not had that yet, so we weren't sure what we were getting into. And I think that's one of the reasons this was the first one where we kind of started getting, this is how it's going to be. But that was what threw me. That was that, hey, what is this? Why are we getting these little, what is this Time War, and what are we going to learn of? And maybe this is something more we're gonna delve into. So I was loving it. So
gotcha. So you kind of knew that this episode was a little bit more, and even though Dave says he was kind of like he couldn't get into it, and I kind of agree with you, Dave, on this one. It wasn't one of my favorite episodes out there. And it did take a while for me to I think I had to watch it a couple of times. I kind of liked the feeling of Victorian and that it was, it was a ghostly affair, but for whatever reason, it wasn't clicking in so easily. In fact, The End of the World was, for me, a bit of a better episode because there was a lot more going on with it. And he was kind of reaching out to Rose in the essence that he just lost his planet. We've got a whole episode explaining this because he's taking her to the end of her planet at this time. This one kind of just they went forward, now they're going back.
Do you know what I would really love is to just see this episode rescored. I feel like part of, as I'm thinking about it and it's hitting me, it was very quiet. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these early episodes are very quiet. A lot of the music is very sparse, and it makes a lot of sense. They were still figuring stuff out, and Murray Gold became more and more bombastic as time went on. And I would love to hear this episode with the style of score that he would have given Voyage of the Damned.
Oh, yeah.
A lot fuller and more dramatic, but everything is just very quiet and and that it puts me to sleep a little bit, and so I think that doesn't help it either.
I don't want to say it put me to sleep, but it was kind of it wasn't as exciting as the other episodes out there, even though it did have its own. It did have its own thing going for it. At this point, I was still, oh wow, we just the end of the world. I think related to me a little bit more, and this kind of we were sitting here, there were seances, there were things going on, and it's just maybe it didn't have a focus. Maybe there was so much going on at this time. We're talking about Charles Dickens, we're talking about the Gelf, where the Time War gets mentioned, that it just kind of was clustered out there.
And see, I feel the exact opposite. I felt End of the World was so by the numbers that it was like, okay, this is what you need. Check the boxes on a Doctor Who story. And where I thought this was the first one to start really being an adventure. We weren't sure where it was going to go. And then, the Doctor was making decisions. All right, I'm going in my review. Sorry, screw the commercials. I'm moving in. All right. So,
okay, fine.
Yeah. And so here's why I gave it an 8.
There you go. You gave it an 8, Mark.
You people were harshly reviewing this, one of the best episodes, I think, of the first season. It was definitely where the show got its footing. Before this, they weren't really sure. Rose almost in parts looks like a stage play. They're trying to figure things out. And so here's where she starts really, learning about the past and learning what all can happen. This is the first time we learn, oh crap, we could change history right here. Because he's like, oh yeah, we could fix it. And your world may never exist, and the world that you came from. And that was the first time that had ever come up, all the way back to Classic Who. And then I thought the zombies and the ghost feeling was a really well done, low budget effect, which reminded me of Classic Who. You do this and you get these, low budget zombies and the early CGI stuff, but it was really holding up. Whereas I felt the previous 2 episodes, they'd kind of over relied on CGI, for the exploding Earth and all that. And, and then again, Mark Gatiss, I think he wrote he loves horror. He did a great documentary series called The History of Horror on BBC. And it's the documentary from Universal all the way up to the modern stuff. He ends with the slasher era. But that's, so he goes deep dives on Universal and Hammer, and you see those influences in this. He got it. He knew how to make it. I also think that he and Russell Davies wanted a Christmas special, and they were afraid this may be their only shot. They weren't sure they were going to be back a second season. Nobody even knew how this was going to be received. The last thing we had was the Fox movie. So, all things were lighting on this. And then also us here in the US, we didn't get this for a year after it aired, unless you had surreptitious means, which most of us did. So this was for us. It was amazing. Yeah, exactly. The good old Bay. But sailing the briny deep. But we got it. We watched it, and man, I was floored by this. And this was early digital. This was the one that I think sets a lot up for the future. And again, we're setting up things to come. We had a monster that was really cool. This was I love but then it was the sad monster flipped into the evil villain. But again, we also had the Doctor realizing there were consequences of the Time War that he hadn't considered. And this is the first time he's like, wait a minute, I could let you guys recycle the dead. I love that bit. I thought that was fantastic. And of course, everybody being horrified by this prospect is very Victorian. So, you don't do things with the dead, I just loved it. So I gave it an 8. The couple dings were the fact that we're still finding their footing. I think a couple, Dickens, Simon Cowell as Dickens, brilliant casting.
Yes.
I think the budget was still, you could see the seams, where it wasn't quite right. I loved the casket bit at the beginning in the funeral home, but I ran a haunted house, so it was like coming home. The plus side though was his whole bit with it, where he was just a bit bothered by the dead waking up. I thought that was a little over the top. It wasn't farting aliens that we're going to get into later, thank goodness, but it was a little bit out of it. So again, that I knocked the point off for that. But up until that point, I was, this would have been a 9 episode, maybe a 10, if it weren't for a couple little things like that. So rant over. Thank you. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That guy looks like David Tennant from the side. I
see it.
It's kind of scary.
Another face imprinted on the time rift. So that's why he comes back as David Tennant.
There you go. Pick the dead guy. Speaking of which, you said the numbers. We are going to go to a commercial break, our last commercial break. When we return, we're going to go over to the hashtag guru himself, get the numbers, and if you're lucky, you'll hear my rating when we return. Please stay logged on, tune in, and become part of the legend. We'll be right back.
You have more options than ever before when choosing. You have more options than ever before when choosing a film, a television or internet series, a book to curl up with, or even a radio show or podcast. Get to know the people who are creating for you. The Hangin' With Web Show, hosted by award-winning author and journalist G.W. Pomacher, is the internet's fastest-growing web talk show series. The Hangin' With Web Show features professional, yet casual, in-depth interviews with creative arts and entertainment pros. Meet the people behind a digital revolution in creating more quality content than ever before in the history of media. Find the Hangin' With Web Show on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, or simply go to www.hanginwithshow.com. That's www.hanginwithshow.com.
Hi, my name is Jamie Engel, critically acclaimed author of The Toilet Papers, Places to Go While You Go, a short story collection suited to match your bathroom needs. Only have to go a little? No problem. I've got stories under 1,000 words for you. Far from poopin'? I've got you covered, with stories over 5,000 words to keep you occupied, while your latrine stays occupied. And that's not all. The Toilet Papers is endorsed by the fine folks from Squatty Potty, the stool for better stools. But don't take my word for it. See what Dookie the Squatty Potty unicorn has to say on YouTube. You won't be disappointed. Well, I've got to go, but you can grab your copy of The Toilet Papers on Amazon in ebook or print, or get an autographed copy from me at therightangle.com. And don't worry, I promise I'll wash my hands first. The Toilet Papers. You might just stay in the bathroom longer than you need to.
Sweet dreams they placed on me inside my mind. Chance my truth twist the past, my memories are fading fast. Am I still missed? Who do you want me to be? Am I still
Back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil. Thank you for joining us. For those of us who are just catching up to us, we are reviewing the episode The Unquiet Dead. And this is just the commercials have just running rough. So I do apologize if they've been a little bit slow out there. And here we are. All six of us over there. I'm tired of picking on whatever. I don't think anybody tires of doing that. I got it before. There you go. What do you got there, Mark?
My candy's run out.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
You will not survive a zombie
Yeah.
apocalypse. What's your supplies for a half show?
Oh, is there a frowny face on your moniker? Well, you definitely got to get more out there. I know you've got more. I know you've got a ton more out there. Hey, for those of you just joining us, if you want to rate The Unquiet Dead, 1 being not so great, 10 being awesome, go ahead and tell us the reason why. Before we continue, I want to give some birthdays out. Got a lot of them. And I know people have been asking, first of all, we can't do all of the Doctor Who birthdays. There's so many people out there, so many actors, actresses, text, everybody. It's just been hard to track down. So the people who have actually physically touched the TARDIS and have some kind of geekdom, that's who we're going to be celebrating today. Give us your numbers between 1 and 10 and how you would rate The Unquiet Dead. So this past week we had a ton of people. First off, from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, we had Nicholas Brandon. He celebrated on the 12th. We had the Fifth Doctor himself, Peter Davison, who celebrated on the 13th. And many people are not familiar with this actress, but I hope you get to check out her work. Peter Pan, she did a movie version of the Peter Pan. This is Chalet Lizette Brannon. And somebody actually tried to call me out, and he goes, wait a minute, Peter Davison and Peter Capaldi have a birthday right behind each other? And I said, yes, celebrating on the 14th, it is Peter Capaldi himself. He has a birthday as well. And these are all people who've been in contact with the TARDIS itself. From Back to the Future, Tom Wilson, better known as Biff Tannen. He celebrates his birthday on the 15th.
Maniac in the Wing Commander games.
What's that? And the Wing Commander games.
Maniac in the Wing Commander video games with Mark Hamill.
And we have 3 birthdays as of the recording of today, on April 18th. We want to celebrate, wish happy birthday to... Who moved that? Somebody moved the picture of Camille Codori. Yeah. Camille Codori, she celebrates a birthday today.
Wasn't me.
As well as we just had an episode with him, an episode with Eric Roberts and his lovely wife Eliza. He celebrates a birthday today. Happy birthday. But last but not least, the only man who could play the Doctor 3 different times today is also David Tennant's birthday. So the 10th, the 14th, and the Meta-Crisis Doctor all belong to David Tennant. Can't wait until he premieres out there. So that covers everything as far as birthdays for people who come in contact with the Traveling TARDIS out there. And if you got a birthday, please shout yourself out. Let us know. We'll give you a big happy birthday during the episode. The timescale says we call it the 2 Peters days. Okay. Nice. Love the Peter Davison era. Good. Awesome there. So it's a bit of a short, it's a bit short for a podcaster. I'll make it up. I'm assuming 6'7". Ha. We can go with an average. Okay. No worries, no time scales. So, without further ado, let's go on to Tom. You rated this a 9.
Yeah, so I can go last this time.
At least give a little bit of and at least give a little bit of a spoiler. You're the highest number in the bunch. So, Tom, what did you like, and where did it just not make it for that one little ditty of a point?
Everything Muncie said.
But better.
That's kind of a legitimate way to do that.
I mean, Mark Muncie knows everything. His books. I mean, my ex-girlfriend found She found your book at CVS in Lakeland. Say, oh, I know Mark Muncie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Listen to the show. Watch the show because I know the guy. But yes, I liked it because it threw out everything. Time War, especially being with Star Wars, it was you fought with my father during the Clone Wars. What's the Clone Wars? And the Dark Times. What's the Dark Times? Now, a Time Wars, like, holy crap, this is what we've been waiting for. Something happened between 8th Doctor and 9th Doctor. This is what I want to know. With Gwyneth being the cousin of Gwen, I mean, which you find out later during Journey's End. The touchy-feely Undertaker, which he got what he deserved. So I'm glad he turned to a freaking zombie.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Charles Dickens, for God's sake. I mean, the whole idea is Charles Dickens. And let's say in Cardiff, say, okay, throwing in Cardiff, just a little twist there, funny. 9th Doctor getting a little bit angry, getting mad at Charles, getting mad at Rose. Say, okay, I'm liking what's going on here because all the other doctors were, straightforward, white bread kind of thing. And we only had Sylvester with, the mysterious doctor. And then, we had Colin. He was just maybe a little too much for me. I don't know. But seeing, we come back, Doctor Who is like, he knows something. Mm-hmm. We know something's going to happen. Time has passed. He was on the Titanic. We want to know more about him. So all these little bits and pieces are popping out. Bad Wolf. It's like, Bad Wolf? What the heck's going on here?
Right.
Let's see. Love the Ghosts. Very 70s because, why did I not give it a 10? When I watch these things, I don't think about what is coming up because as I watched it again yesterday, I haven't watched it since I haven't watched this thing in about 20 years when Arthur Dykman gave me DVD copies of the show. So I didn't watch anything until the 11th Doctor came out.
Yeah, he said almost 20.
So it's been a long time. But I always in the back of my mind, say, well, all these little things are popping up. The sadness of Gwyneth dying, but with everything, people die. I just did not want to go to a top because, well, we know what the next ones are, and I was like, okay, fart, whatever. Dalek, yeah, that's the thing. That's why I'm saving. I don't go anything that's a 10 until like something really big happens.
Here.
Returning. So like, okay, that's what I'm aiming for there. That's why I gave it a 9 instead.
Mm-hmm.
I originally was going 8.5, but just push it up because it's classic. All the classicness of it, the 70s feel, Victorian era. That's what I like about the stuff. The end of the world, everything futuristic. It was nice to watch, but again, I'm with the classic Doctor Who. That's why this felt good to me. So I will still stick with a 9 on it.
So you felt this was a reminiscent of the old time Who, where you dealt. There was a lot of Victorian stuff going on back then, especially things like the Talents of Wang Chiang,
which does not offend me, does not offend you, and
doesn't offend us.
Yeah. But it's part of what we were, part of what we are, and if you don't learn from that, and you just kind of push everything away, what do you learn? You forget everything. Oh, all these things going on here. No, you learn from the past, and that's how you become a better person. Oop, did I go into a rant? Did I go far off into a rant?
Yeah, it's all good, man. We all were ranting on this one. So,
well, I mean, I never give, I never harass something because of the time frame that it was made in, and it's always hard to, everybody's like the Talons of Wing Chang was in PC, and I'm just like, yeah, that was 1970s. That's when it was made. This was a different time. Now, 2023, if you did the exact same thing, yes, we got some issues and we got a lot of things to talk about this because you could have the people to do it. What is going on here?
On his microphone stand there.
Oh, I couldn't see that at first.
Yeah, my assistant manager did that.
Nice.
What? No, now you got to answer the question, Tom. Come on, I'm going to fight you. What is?
You want to know what hoe sauce is?
No, I just want him to answer what.
It's a very 70s kind of thing,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Chief,
sure,
brother.
It's from the time that it was filmed.
Is it something that
Boogie Nights?
Is it something that YouTube's going to get me with later on in my life? The Next Generation Code of Honor was far worse.
Yeah. Again, there are lots of shows that have terrible things that have not aged well, and but they had really cool stories and they had really cool characters and really cool adventures, and that's why I was glad they got to redeem Wing Chang a little bit with doing Jago and Lightfoot later and all that. So that was great characters got their own spinoff, got to do a lot with it, and of course that also led to Madame Vastra, which led to Doctor Who's first lesbian couple. So it was this was. This all it evolves over time, and that's one of the beauties of Doctor Who is it evolves over time too. It's why we regenerate.
Evolution ain't pretty.
Yep, it ain't, but that's why we have to regenerate sometimes and go all new. So and here we are again. So
heck yeah.
Well, for those of you listening on our radio show, thank you so much. I'm just going to read this real fast. Hey, when the rep said his ex-girlfriend, I thought he was. They said he. And never mind. I am just going on. Anyway, for those of you listening to our radio, and for those of you who would like to listen to us on radio, join us at iHeartRadio, sci-fi.radio. You can download the app for free. What? Odyssey, Spotify, Spreaker, Podbean, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, you can listen to us. But if you want the full episodes and you want to see us interacting, you definitely want to. Serves you right there, Tom.
Those antlers off.
Anyway, you can check us out and download. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our Facebook, facebook.com/The Traveling TARDIS. We have just hit 67,000 WHOvians, and we are still growing to this day. You can check us out on TikTok. And, of course, as always, don't forget right now, go ahead and do it. Help us. We are just, the needle is right at the 3,000, and we hope we earned your subscribe button, your like button. Please, just let everybody know. And if you could do this for your favorite podcasters, just like our friends down over at Husbands Talking More or Less, or our friends over at the rathole.ca, or over at Reb's Rants, or over at Eerie Travels. You help us all out there. You're helping indie podcasters grow, become bigger, and become more involved so that we can bring you the content that you want to hear and get us out there. So thank you all for the Audiobird folks who have joined us today. We are going into the after party, and I just want to mention, not only am I going to reveal my score tomorrow, sadly enough, was the passing of Liz Sladen, and I think that's going on her 12 years that she's been gone. And we actually have an interview with her daughter, Sadie Miller, who talks about her mother, her connection with things, and talking about taking over her role in the big Finnish audios, playing Sarah Jane Smith. And she is absolutely spot on audio-wise as far as her mother's concerned. So for those of you who are going into the after party, stick around. We'll be right back. For those of you listening to our audio, thank you so much. And please continue to become part of the legend, because please stay safe, because we want you to be here for as long as you can. Is the videos going wacky or something?
What?
Are the videos going wacky? Because when I hit the when I hit the glitch button to end the audio, it jumped. It went from beginning to end. It's almost like my computer's catching up on me.
You might have just had a lag.
I did.
Everything's jumpy for me today. Everything's just freezing.
Sure it's not showing up.
Well, they were playing twice. You'd play like 2 seconds, and it would play the whole thing. So
and Noel and I from the TARDIS owner are having we're calling it sticky StreamYard buttons, because we'll hit the button and nothing will happen.
And Andrew, I agree with your comment right there, man. That was my thought on this episode too. That this was where it changed. So
don't get too comfortable, as Doctor Who can change in any episode. The Unquiet Dead is one of those episodes that starts who in a new direction.
Yeah, because before that it was pretty by the numbers. Doctor Who saves the day. This is the first one where I think Doctor and Rose almost didn't have to do anything. It was everybody else saved the day. They just kind of were pushing, which was cool too.
Well, in a moment I'll give my number, but I thought one of the most interesting scenes, thing is the evolution in action. Yeah. One of the most interesting scenes is this scene right here, where the Doctor is just being aware that he just picked up Rose for the first time, and now he's getting like, oh, she could die here. Yep. And it's my fault. I brought her here.
The first time I've had a companion in forever,
Exactly. So. And it's just like, now it's kind of like the PTSD is creeping up. It's almost like, wait, I'm going back to my old life, and this is how everything went south to begin with. And I made that decision to hit that button and blow up Gallifrey and the Daleks. But we don't know that as of yet. So I gave the Unquiet Dead a 7. Wasn't that great, but it wasn't that bad either. And like you guys said, there was a lot of stuff that was coming out over here, especially, future Gwen was going to eventually pop up in Torchwood. She was a lovely actress. I'm glad they brought Eve Miles back to be in Torchwood. And then they had that lovely connection to her. You got to see her in person, because she has fun. And when I mean have fun, just think of Catherine Tate, just completely unfiltered. She'll talk about everything under the sun, and even things that I don't think she's supposed to talk about. But to me, Eve Miles is just a wonderful. If you ever get a chance, you got to do it out there. I have a question for everybody. As far as the bad guys in this episode, what do you think of the Gelf as far as a monster / villain in this episode?
Very Gatiss.
I thought they were good for a one-shot villain. So I thought, they were just that right kind of menace. And the twist was a little predictable, but, again, it reminded me of old school Who, which, the twists were always a little predictable. So
I wouldn't mind seeing them come back.
Yeah,
I think a second episode.
Yeah,
this far gone is hard to say, but
I'd love to see a cousin, like how the Ood are supposed to be cousins to the Sensorites. I'd love to see an evolution of the Gout.
I like the idea of a creature that lives on a gas planet. We don't. This is the first truly alien, and this was also like the first episode that did the trend of where science making light of superstition. We got the werewolf a little bit later. We got the ghosts here, / zombies. We had the fish vampires. This is where we start getting that. That was a trend of New Who.
They could probably CG gas aliens better now too.
I'm sure they could.
Oh, I'm sure they could.
Yeah,
probably. They came out as well as they did.
Still beautiful, of course. Yeah.
Here's the question: would we want them to? They've established this kind of it. Do you actually think we should improve on that, or kind of go? I mean, fine tune.
Are we talking 5 Doctors Space Triangle versus 5 Doctors? Terrible Ripple.
Or Teletubby Daleks.
Yeah. So this is
taste the rainbow. Daleks.
Power Rangers.
Well, the time where it caused them to die is like go to when they're on their planet before they die. Can the Doctor stop changes from them dying first? So maybe they would not try to conquer Earth. So maybe something like that, because we did that for the Cybermen story, did it for Dalek stories. Like, no, one more time is not going to hurt. It's like, let's go back to an origin thing.
Well, I don't mind if they have the means, the know-how, and the tech to do it. I meant the Sea Devils. When we saw their current incarnation, like, wow, geez, they really did improve on the Sea Devils as far as their current incarnation. The thing is that it's kind of like the Weeping Angels kind of when they were just assassins that could just tap you and send you back and kill you off, sending you back into the past and having to live that. I thought that was great. And then they became, they can travel through time. And then if they hit you again, you die a second time.
They're born out of an image. What?
Right.
That was too much. Yeah, that was, they had to expand on
and
a good
that
thing.
was right away.
Yeah, it's just like MacGuffin.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just like, wait, it seemed more simplistic and even better that they kind of had that limitation where they just touch you. I'm like, that's good enough. Anything that touches you from blind, I thought that was the coolest concept. And then they were just, super. So it was the same thing with the Sea Devils. I remember when I saw the Sea Devils first come out of the ocean, they were walking and they were lulking because there was a guy in a costume trying to get out of the ocean. And then all of a sudden I saw one leap all the way to a boat. I'm like, okay. All right. Can we just,
time scales after, Rev and I did our impassioned reviews that everybody agreed to reevaluate and they all gave it an 8. It was, we all decided. So that's to answer that question.
Okay. It's gonna make my life harder, right?
I'll give it to you. It's Christmas.
Thanks. Yeah.
Do you guys remember? Do you guys determine an average rating?
That's what I was answering. Yeah, I was saying.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's what
we did. We won the debate, so we gave it an 8. Yeah. You guys can have the next 2. We'll defer to your opinion on the next 2.
I
don't think anybody wants to review these next 2. So
I think the gas monsters, for a better term, were really cool. I mean, because these monsters had the ability to come in and out of things.
Yeah.
And what better way, who's not to say you can inhale one?
Gas was the new technology at the time. So it was, this was pre-electricity. So this was, just early pre-electricity. So we still, this was the new technology, which is always the new villain. Look how many people are afraid of 5G. How many people are afraid of the internet? How many people are afraid? This was that trope, just redone. So.
Oh no! Now we got AI, and that scares the hell out of me.
AI now. Yeah, but yeah, that is the end game. So
I do want to get to Sarah Jane, but I was like, I read an article where an AI convinced somebody to, and I'm like, wait, what?
I was thinking you were going to say that.
There
Oh my
was an
God.
article. There was an article that I saw somewhere on a news show that they said that this AI convinced the guy, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? That's where we are right now.
source.
Yeah,
Look, we were warned.
I heard that was a rumor, but
because there's also there's this thing where someone was saying like there's an AI that wrote a plan to take down the government.
Oh,
and
yeah,
people are
yeah,
freaking out. But the actual, it's like the hot coffee from McDonald's thing. The actual thing is somebody like instructed it on how to make a plan like that first, and then asked it the question, and it made its own based on being taught how to do it. So like, did somebody teach the bot to instruct someone to do that? And then, now we're freaking out because it did what we taught it. Like, stop teaching it to do this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, and the time scales. Has there been a Doctor Who story on Rogue AI? Lots.
Great intelligence.
Oh yeah.
I think Face
Great
of Evil
intelligence.
was my favorite, just because that was the introduction of Leela. But but
The
that
Face
was
of Evil.
Yeah.
But we've all been pre-warned about AI. Everyone watched Terminator back in the 80s. We all know that Skynet's going to
War
happen.
games. We all know this is going to happen. So it's all. Yeah, we go back to what Star Trek, OG Star Trek. Had the things where AI destroyed things. Twilight Zone had things where AI was ruling the world. So it is what it is.
But it's always because we were mean to them. So just be nice. Just be nice to your little Amazon devices, and they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, here's
and
the thing.
it'll all be like Wally.
On top of that, Kev, I'm like, what are you asking the AI that it's giving you this answer? What in the world are you going into this? I'm just like, it's kind of like Alexa, just like Alexa, what's the temperature outside? I'm like, I'm not going to go into the philosophical mindset of, whatever deep stuff that's going on in there. Just like, geez. And so I'll settle with a little brown thing that I call Alexa and just say, just give me the temperature. How's the traffic? Whatnot. I don't need to know any more than that, or play some music. But yeah, it is kind of scary. I did want, let's go ahead and move on because we're coming up to the end of the show. I did want to talk about Liz Sladen. So was the War Machines. Yep, there you go, Dan. Exactly. So was the War Machines. In the passing of Liz Sladen, tomorrow's going to be the 12th year that we've lost Liz. And God,
they did it. My car when I heard the news. My kids, I raised them watching Sarah Jane Adventures because it was the closest to old school Who that I felt, and was loving it, and had no idea she was sick. So that it floored me.
And not trying to get too personal, I'm curious when she knew, and if she decided, listen, I'm going to keep going, or
that was Russell Davies said that she approached them, I guess, mid-season 2. And that's why they weren't even sure she was going to get through season 3, but they did. And then they were like, well, let's just keep going, because she thought she had beaten it. And then, season 4, they did as much as they could. And it was sad because they were trying to get Nicholas Courtney back one more time.
And then he passed.
And then he passed right after that. So it was both those.
I get the question actually is for you, Kevo. Because folks like Dave, myself, Mark, other Mark, and then definitely we all grew up Liz Sladen, and we grew up with Classic Who. But you grew up with New Who. What did Liz mean to you? And when she passed?
Genuinely a lot. When I first started, I was at the very start of series 3. So this was her first episode in the revival, was one of the first episodes that I binged, School Reunion. I thought she was delightful. I thought she was so much fun and had so much energy and was so exciting. She sort of, because I knew what she represented for Classic Who, she sort of gave me like Margot Kidder energy in terms of this iconic woman from the classic to represent it, and so beloved. And so when she got Sarah Jane Adventures, we immediately started watching, and Loved it. Loved her. She was such a delight. And it was hard. Thinking about it now, it's actually really wild because I kind of suspected, but never really looked up the ages. She was only about 4 years older than my mom was when she passed, and she really, really, really reminds me a lot of my mom, who was a teacher. And so Liz Sladen always had that energy of being so enthusiastic and so supportive of those kids on that show. It's why I'm constantly such a vocal advocate for I want some sort of spin-off with those kids, something to honor her, like the Sarah Jane Agency, where it's all old companions uniting in her honor and doing different missions, because that's something that she would have thrived at being the lead of. And
You
I
might
would
be
love
getting your wish. I don't mean to cut you off there, but I heard Ronnie might be leading the pack.
that would be amazing. She is such a phenomenal young actress. I'd love to see her back.
Yeah, she's doing a
that'd be
big
great.
finish like soon. Yeah, and that'll be great.
On TV though, I want it on TV.
Yeah, I know.
I love all
on
your
TV
big finishes.
too. Yeah,
But
agreed.
I'm not.
Oh man, no. The whole thing with Liz on. I just recently started watching. I get there's a thing you can get for Amazon called Con TV, which is an add-on, and they have the old episodes of Myth Makers with a very young, Nick Benjamin and everything, and it's fun to watch because it's like the proto Big Finish where they're interviewing the actors and just discussing the old shows. And they did one with Liz, and I just watched it not too long ago, and it was just so great to hear her reminisce all her time as Sarah Jane and what it meant to her. And I'm like, man, if we could just have done that again after returning, because at that point she hadn't returned yet. Of course, nobody had, and it was still pre-2000s. And but oh man, it would have been great.
Comments. I would say, and let me pull this up on timescales. Congratulations over there. Timescale says, I interviewed Joseph Lisser a few days ago, who wrote 3 of Sarah Jane Adventure TV shows, and he told me about meeting Liz 5 times and having a bit too much wine with her. Good recollections there. And Andrew Morse comes up and says, I love Elizabeth Sladen as Sarah Jane, since I can't remember. Now, here's the weird part, Mark, both Marks. I always saw, when I was growing up, I don't know why, Sarah Jane was kind of like my sister, my kid's sister.
Right. She wasn't the one you got the crush on. That was Leela or Romana.
Yeah, okay, there we go that way.
Yeah.
And then Leela comes in, and I'm like, I'm having more emotions about the companion doctor than I was supposed to have.
And that's how I felt. Mary Cam came in with those fancy gowns. It was like Ginger and Marianne there.
Yeah.
And then this was like, you're right. Like the girl next door. But she was also, like you said, she had very much the Margot Kidder Superman vibes, the plucky, intrepid reporter and all this. And there were episodes where I know, especially the early Tom Baker episodes, where he's kind of like being a bit mean with her, to get her to move her butt a little bit, because at this point she was still falling into traps, getting captured and all this. So it was funny they kind of shifted that to Harry Sullivan at that point a little bit to get it away from Sarah Jane. But then Sarah grows into it so fast and so quickly. I think it was Time Warrior with the Sontaran. I think that's the episode where suddenly she is, but she's also the one arguing for the destruction of the Daleks in Genesis of the Daleks. She's the one saying, blow them up as a child, where everybody else is kind of like, Tom Baker's like, do I have the right? Do I have the right? And she's like, of course, Daleks, kill them. They're evil.
She's always been the good counter for Tom's doctor.
Yes.
And let me just read this from Dan Holyfield. And don't forget The Last Man Standing. Check it out and give them a like, subscribe. I had such a crush on Liz Sladen. She was everything a doctor companion needed to be, and fun, smart, strong, and determined to boot. I would even go as far, because you also, I would even say, unless somebody wants to show me otherwise, the second companion to have kind of a story arc, because the Liz Sladen, the Sarah Jane that we started within the Time Monster was not the Sarah Jane that left the doctor in Aberdeen. They were completely 2 different people, and even though it was the same person, I think she kind of grew on it. And I think even I could say even further is that Tom's doctor kind of mellowed her out, whereas she was very, I'm not trying to say this in drag, she was very feministic, and you could see the relation, not only that, but in the dialogue as well. And she was also not trusting of the third doctor, but then she kind of grew into it. And then when she gets Tom, she kind of mellows out, and they start working together and hand in hand. She becomes kind of the true companion. You get Harry Sullivan in there, the imbecile. And even, you know, I saw one scene in Ark in Space where she's going, "Oh, don't doctor me." She's stuck in that air vent.
Yeah.
And the doctor just rips her apart. So they go like, "Oh, don't doctor me." And then she starts pulling herself out because she's angry at the doctor for pissing him off. And as it was, she starts pulling him, and he starts hitting him for, you know, insulting him. But that was the kind of relationship that Sarah brought. I would say that the warrior kind of mellowed out and started seeing the compassion, and that started reflecting into Sarah. But I think that's more of Liz than just Sarah Jane alone. That's my opinion on that. Timescale says the Sarah Jane continuance comes from Big Finish Thursday. Oh. Yeah. The first story in the box was written by Joe Lister as well. Is that going to be Sadie Miller?
Yeah, I believe. No, it's Ronnie and all the kids. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's them growing up, continuing.
So there you got your Big Finish wish.
I like Sarah Jane's first spin-off.
Oh, the K9.
K9 Company. Yeah. I think it's okay for a short story.
Yeah,
I think it works really well.
Mm-hmm.
I know they had a lot of problems.
Yeah,
but Sarah and K9 going out on adventures together
would have been great.
Were awesome. And then when the Sarah Jane adventures came out, I started looking forward for like K9 to be with her, and they just shoved K9 in completely out of orbit.
He's expensive.
For those of you
not too expensive anymore.
For those of you who are not familiar, back in the 80s, John Nathan Turner came out with a spin-off episode called K9 and Company. It did star Liz Sladen and John Leeson as K9. It was actually supposed to be the Sarah Jane Adventures. It was supposed to be its own series and run off, and it just didn't pick up, unfortunately. But it was a nice little, like the Unquiet Dead. It was a nice Christmas episode. I did feel that the story got a little too weird. I do think
it was very Stones of Blood, where they were trying to throw so much in, especially for for a Christmas story for kids. It was a little dark. Yeah,
it was like Hot Fuzz.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good relation. It was just like it went a little bit to the point where I'm like, okay, is this for real, or is this just getting?
But then at the end, we got K9 singing "Merry Christmas." But that also explained why suddenly Sarah Jane had K9 in the Five Doctors when she showed back up, which was great to see. For those of us who, the mind blowing thing that was the Five Doctors for us. I recently rewatched it. I guess Riff Tracks, the guys who did Mystery Science Theater, did a riff of the Five Doctors. And man, you realize how bad that episode really is when you watch it with them making the jokes. But you find when Sarah Jane falls down that slight grade, and Pertwee has to rescue her with the car winch for some strange reason. It's just, but Sarah pulled it, but Liz Sladen pulls it off. She makes it look like it's falling down this steep hill, and it's funny when you watch it. So. But that's how good of an actor she was. And then when she comes back in School Reunion, oh my God, all of our hearts were in our throats there, man. That was
we were all waiting for that moment for when she's going to see him. When she's going to see him.
And we were all convinced that Giles, Anthony Stewart Head, was going to be the master. But no, he turned out to be a villain. So
I would accept it.
Yeah. Best line in the School Reunion was like when Mickey turns around to the doctor, says, your girlfriend and your ex in one place. Every man's but worst nightmare.
True.
I'm the tin dog, eh? I'm the tin dog.
Andrew Moore says, I loved Joe Grant when I watched Classic, but Sarah Jane was like prototype 3-dimensional companion.
Yeah, Joe they were starting to work with, but then she went and posed for Playboy and they had to fire her. But we love Joe. So
Joe's awesome.
We interviewed Joe.
Doctor Who VHS tape I ever got. Loved it. Okay. And Andrew Moore says Canine Company.
Canine Company is Satanist. Yeah. It didn't help. It didn't hurt that it was in the middle of the Satanic Panic when they aired that too. So
I just like they couldn't make it just a simple kid story. They really had to ramp it up to 11 on the what are we watching?
Yeah, well, that's typical British for you. If you ever watch any other public safety announcements from those decades, you'll be shocked.
Oh man, yeah.
Like you said, the hot fuzz. You think it's going to be a cop show, and then all of a sudden they ramp it up to 11. Like, where are we going with it?
It's just typical British thing, you know what I mean?
Well, that's like one of my favorite things to watch is was their Ghost Stories for Christmas that BBC used to run all the time. And speaking of Mark Gatiss, he just brought it back, so which is pretty cool. So,
and speaking of which, I still can't get over Timothy Dalton being impaled by whatever the hell that steeple thing was. Like,
on the model railway.
I just can't. I'm just like, why do we go into?
Yeah, Model Village or Stanford.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Yeah, Sadie agreed. Timescale Sadie has done a great job bringing her mom back.
She is awesome. She is phenomenal about doing her mother's.
When you listen to her, Trim Traylor, and John Coleshaw and all that, it sounds like you're listening to a Third Doctor adventure. That
it is. It's
I can't tell that it was not a real episode. So.
And then make it on top of that, they use all the classic music, all the classic sounds, so it feels like you are back in that time.
And I've pre-ordered that Sarah Jane Adventure one, and I'm hoping they use a variant on the theme, that from the Sarah Jane Adventures, because that was all Murray Gold goodness too. So
still in trauma from UK PSA.
Yes, I perfectly agree there, Andrew. I perfectly understand it.
We got a few more, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up the show. But timescales, this is for you, Mark Candyman. Hey, Candyman, you're down in Cajun land. My brother lives in Shreveport. Or is that? Oh, no, the other Mark. No, you're not in Cajun land?
I'll say I was in Louisiana not too long ago, but I did go through Mississippi and some other stuff recently, researching the new book, Erie Southeast, which will be out hopefully early next year. But yeah, not Candyman.
No, I'm in Essex, England.
No. Down there, we don't eat candy. We eat boiled peanuts. So,
all right. We'll try to make this. Yeah, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Timescale says Sadie Miller was reportedly nervous to try to voice her mom, but she did an excellent job. Yeah. You thought you were in Louisiana with that accent? Yes.
My British accent. Louisiana.
It sounds totally Cajun. Yeah, no.
I was going to take you to the deep south. There you go. We brought him. So, no, you're fine.
It's wrong. No, I'm in Florida, but I have.
We got two Marks. We got Mark Robinson and Mark Muncie, who's the gentleman who runs over it.
But I will be in Ocala Saturday for the Central Florida Bigfoot Conference. So.
No, I didn't want to say anything, Andrew, but Dave had to leave. He's working on something right now, so unfortunately he had to skip town. But he should be back by the next episode. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Sadie is brilliant, and Timescale says, thank you all for joining us. Not sure as to what the next episode is going to be, depending upon, because we do have a few interviews that might be coming along. We're not exactly sure, but we'll keep in touch with things. Also, as far as upcoming conventions, not sure that either. Right now, June, we had a convention in mind, but it just didn't pan out well. We might be doing something virtual. San Diego, I think, San Diego, we are planning to possibly do a virtual. We're talking to Ken Deep about Li-Who and doing something with them. And right now we are in talks with Comcast Server. So those are three conventions that we are looking at, but most likely I think all three might be virtual, which means we'll be at the convention. We might be doing a live feed. We'll work out the logistics as we get closer, but nothing right now as far as conventions are concerned. But please keep a lookout on both our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. That's when we make the announcements. So definitely, again, thank you so much for joining us. But if we do a straight up episode again, we are, as we approach the 60th anniversary, we go back and looking upon the episodes that we haven't reviewed as of yet. So definitely the next interview would be
another episode about gas aliens.
Gas aliens.
I wanted to say that.
Oh God!
I've been sitting on that.
Wait. Can I say this? Should we do both of them together?
Oh, you got
I was going to ask, are you going to try and do that?
We separate them.
Yeah.
No.
Return of units, but not really. I mean, this was
okay. There is no unit. I watched that episode today. There is no unit at all apart
They're
from
not
the
even
webpage.
fake unit.
Not fake unit.
Okay.
They're not wearing any unit badges.
All right.
They are just pure military. The only unit you see is the webpage.
Okay, I just remember that, and I just remember that I've never watched it since it aired, and I do not intend to again. So
okay, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up, but I got a question for Kevo. Kevo, are you looking forward to the finale this week?
Yes, this is such a wild week for the Star fandoms. We've got the Picard finale on Thursday. We've got Mando tomorrow. I've got my Power Rangers tomorrow too.
Yeah.
What a week! What a fandom week!
It is like spring sci-fi meltdown, and it's like gold at the theaters right now with Dungeons and Dragons and everything else. It's like, oh my God, it's like nerdvana. Mario's dominating everything.
I just popped into the YouTube chat the links for the stuff that we have going on this weekend. We're reviewing Power Rangers, and then we're reviewing the Stars. So, awesome. Yeah, I'm very, very, very excited. I just became a Trekkie within the last few years, and I was missing so much. Yep. Yes, got it.
Kapla. I used to speak Klingon, but it's gone from me now. So,
well, everybody.
My father-in-law might.
Again, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that we've entertained you, we've enlightened you, we've educated you, and we brought you into the universe even further, that we've earned your subscription over here, youtube.com/The Traveling TARDIS. Help us to get over the 3K hump. We really appreciate that. We want to make sure that we're sharing and telling people about us, and that you're sharing and liking our episodes, because that's how we get it out there. If you want to, as you can see at the very bottom, if you want to send in super chats or thanks, hey, by all means do. Want to thank Dave Chapman from therathole.ca, Mark Muncie from Erie, Florida Travels, Kevo, Risse from Husbands Talking More or Less on his podcast, all the way at the very end, Rebs, Raves, and Rants, the Reverend Nomicon, better known as Tom Kosak. And last but definitely not least, our gentleman from the UK, Candyman, Mark Robinson. Thank you all for joining us out here. Don't get to say goodbye on the way out, and please stay safe. We'll catch you next week when we talk about farting aliens. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us.
Outside.
Time.
Yeah.
No, it's not working.
What's that?
Oh, I
thought
you're stuck.
Next week, if nobody knows, we'll just get zippers on our heads and we'll start.
That'd be really funny.
All right.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, take care of yourselves.
Subscribe to all these people. They're all
subscribe
awesome.
Exactly. And without further ado, Tony, please take us out.